Welcome to Even Tacos Fall Apart. I'm MommaFoxFire, and today we're talking about something that makes most people squirm: death, funerals, and grief. Not exactly light brunch conversation, but we're all going to deal with this, every single one of us. And most of us might handle it badly because no one taught us how. Think about the last funeral you went to. Did you know what to wear, what to say, whether you should hug someone or give them space? Did you stand there feeling like an absolute idiot while your brain screamed at you to say something meaningful, but all you could come up with was, "I'm so sorry for your loss"? That's basically everyone. We live in a country with no standard approach to death. We're not like other places where everyone follows the same religious traditions and knows exactly what to do. We've got celebrations of life in bowling alleys, traditional funerals in churches, gatherings of ashes on mountains, and everything in between. Every situation is different, and what you learn from one funeral might be completely useless at the next one. Grief isn't one size fits all. Losing your elderly grandparent when you're 8 years old is grief. Losing your spouse when you're 40 is grief. But they're not the same grief, not even close. The amount of hopes and dreams you had wrapped up in that relationship changes everything. Your future plans, your daily routines, the person you call when something good happens. When those things disappear, the hole they leave behind is massive. But we act like all grief is equal. We tell people, "I understand what you're going through," when we absolutely don't. We avoid mentioning the dead person's name because we think it will make things worse. We stop checking in after 2 weeks because we assume they're fine now. We show up to funerals in inappropriate outfits, or we don't show up at all because it feels too awkward. And people remember. They remember who showed up and who didn't. They remember who brought food and who sent a text 3 months later asking how they were doing. They remember the coworker who drove them to the airport at 3 a.m. and the friend who disappeared completely. Today's guest is Barbara Bowman, author of What Not to Do at Funerals: A Newbie's Guide to Death. Barbara has experienced more loss than most people, and through all of it, she's collected stories. Stories about what people did right and what they did spectacularly wrong. She wrote a short, punchy guidebook that you could literally download on your way to a funeral, because sometimes you just need someone to tell you what to do. Our conversation covers everything from how to balance humor with respect, to why saying someone's name won't make grief worse, to what it really means to show up for someone who's grieving. Barbara doesn't sugarcoat anything, and she's got some strong opinions about selfies at funerals. Before we get into that conversation, though, I want to talk about November for a minute, because this month can be rough on mental health for a lot of reasons. We've gotten to the end of daylight savings time, which means it's getting dark earlier, even though this is my favorite because it's the fallback part. That loss of sunlight hits some people hard. Seasonal affective disorder is real, and if you start feeling more tired or down as the days get shorter, that's your cue to pay attention. Get outside during daylight hours when you can. Consider a light therapy lamp. Talk to someone when it gets heavy. The holidays are coming, and for a lot of people, that's also stressful. Family dynamics, financial pressure, expectations about how things should look versus how they actually are. Grief hits differently during the holidays, too. That first Thanksgiving without someone can knock you sideways, even if you thought you were doing okay. And speaking of family, November often means spending more time with relatives you might not see regularly. That can bring up old wounds or complicate feelings. It's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to leave early. It's okay to skip events that are going to be harmful to your mental health. For those of you in school, November means midterms or finals are coming. Academic stress is real stress. Your brain can't distinguish between good stress and bad stress. It all impacts your nervous system the same way. We're also heading into election season, and that intensity is there regardless of where you fall politically. That constant barrage of information and conflict is exhausting. It's okay to disconnect. It's okay not to have an opinion on everything. Protecting your peace is not the same as not caring. So as we move through November, check in with yourself. Notice when you're running on empty. Celebrate small wins. Ask for help when you need it. And remember that taking care of your mental health is not selfish, it's necessary. Now, let's talk about death and funerals with Barbara Bowman. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Mental Health Monday here on Even Tacos Fall Apart. I am really excited for our conversation today. We are going to be talking about death positivity and funerals and loss and all of things related to that. I am joined today by Barbara Bowman, and if you are interested in asking any questions while we are live, I just opened up a question queue. Feel free to pop those questions into the chat. We will get them addressed while we are here, while we are live today. So Barbara, thank you so much for taking the time today to join us and to just come and have this conversation here.
I am very honored that you would have me, and thank you for sharing your audience with me. I appreciate it tremendously.
Absolutely. So, like I said, today's guest is Barbara Bowman, author of What Not to Do at Funerals, A Newbie's Guide to Death. Barbara has lived through more loss than most of us can imagine, and through that experience, she's seen both the best and the worst of how people respond to grief. So her book blends humor with heartfelt advice to help people navigate that awkwardness that often comes with funerals and grief. She is on a mission to make conversations about death approachable, relatable, and even a little less intimidating, especially for folks who are a little younger who might be facing this for the first time. Barbara is passionate about helping people show up with empathy, avoid common missteps, and feel a little more confident when life hands us one of its hardest goodbyes. And if you guys are interested in connecting with Barbara, I do have a couple of ways you can do that. I'm going to post those now into the chat. So we have the website and also a link to her book. And a little birdie told me earlier there might be some social media presence very soon.
Yes.
So, Barbara, again, thank you so much. And just to start us off, can you share a little bit about what led you into writing and talking about death and funerals? And then what do you love about it and what do you hate about it?
I had just heard so many in my regular life. What pays the bills is I get the opportunity to work with in a med spa where we spend one-on-one time with people for 45 minutes to an hour. So you often become like their best friend. Once you've squeezed things off them or looked at their bum or, seen some weird barnacle, you're connected. You're close. And so I'll see clients for quite a bit of time. And many will know that I've gone through some situations in my life and maybe they've gone through some grief, but the grief complaints are amazing. You say, "Oh, gosh, Sally, I knew your brother passed. How did that go?" Because we were close friends and we could talk about this. And you think people would talk about the flowers or the speeches. I guarantee you, every single person, one of the first things out of their mouth is the complaints. What somebody did they shouldn't have done, who showed up they couldn't believe what they wore, what somebody said, or how people they thought were going to be really have their back and be a support for them ghosted them completely. And it's how someone else showed up, or how they didn't realize that grief was going to hit them the way they did because they had never experienced it before and seen it on movies or saw someone else, or maybe they had a grandparent that had passed when they were a kid who was really, really old, but nothing firsthand. And so after a while, people said, "Barbara, you should tell somebody what to do. You should just write a book." And I said, "My God, I better," because there was nothing else out there that was quick and that was punchy and that would give you the kind of tools that you could just get to very quickly to help you really navigate that and take some of the, maybe sweat a little less and be a little less stressed when you have to approach these awkward situations.
Yeah. And there's definitely, my biggest funeral, oh no, I'll bet people still talk about this. I'll share because I think most of the community probably knows it, but it was my great aunt's funeral, and we were graveside. And my oldest, who's now 18, was very little, and I was wearing a black dress. But I am large chested, so there was some cleavage that just can't be helped whenever you're large chested and you're in a dress. and I was holding him, and he was leaning on my shoulder, and he reached down, and he was patting me, and he goes, "Mommy, I like your boobies." And of course, like, he's tiny, so everyone around us is just like giggling, and I was mortified. And afterwards, I was like, "Oh my God, Mom, what just happened?" And she was like, "Don't worry about it. It's a kid. Like, kids get an easy pass." I was like, "Yeah, but should I have like done something different, with my child and said, like, hey, make sure you don't speak at all during this funeral and that kind of thing?" And it was like, that's the biggest thing that I still think about whenever I think of like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened at funerals. But yeah, but no one really talks about, hey, make sure you don't do this at funerals, or make sure you do this at funerals. That's not really talked about either. So there's definitely a
No.
need for a book.
Well, and, these days, especially after COVID, um, and the way our society in America has gone, we really don't have a standard way that we approach this as a country, as a community. There's other countries that they have um, maybe one particular religious sect that the whole country follows, and they've had standards for and expectations for hundreds or decades. Everybody knows what to do, and there's even certain cultures where they have a grieving period
Hmm.
and things that their relatives will do, and everyone just goes, line in step with what they know they're supposed to do. But that's not how it is here. We're a melting pot of people. We have all kinds of different social and religious backgrounds and different kind of beliefs, and so now there's just a plethora of how many different ways that it could be approached. And so we don't really know what to do. Many people aren't even having funerals. They're having these
Yeah.
um, life. Wow, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank, but
Like a celebration of life kind of thing.
it's
Yeah.
couldn't think the word celebrate for some reason, but the celebration of life, and those are all unique. So now we're really at a loss, what to do, and every situation might be different. So you may have gone to a funeral and it was one way, and then the next time you have a situation, it's totally different.
Hmm.
And what you learn from that one isn't going to apply. This is a way that you can get a lot of those general ideas um, thought about for you so you don't have to do the guesswork.
Yeah, that's really unique.
Because it's going to happen.
Mhm. Yep. And if you have someone like my oldest has a lot of anxiety around unknown situations or things that haven't happened before. If you have someone who has a lot of anxiety and you can give them a book that says, "Don't worry, just here, read this and prep yourself a little bit." That's also helpful in its own unique way.
Yes. And you could download this book on your way to the funeral.
Oh, is it really short?
Yes, it's part of my goal. It's if
That's
it
awesome.
needs to be approachable and it needs to be memorable. So to do that, I wanted to make sure that um, it's only about 60 pages and
Yeah, you
it's
can read that
punchy and it's
quick.
fun and it's quick. It's a toolbox, really.
Mhm. That's really neat.
So it's a quick guide to you because of what should I do, and I've got your back.
Yeah. How do you balance your work and your writing and any hobbies and then also taking care of your own well-being?
Well, you balance it by knowing when you're out of balance. Really,
Mm.
I mean, that's all it is. Is that when you feel like one part isn't getting enough attention, and you honor that flag because you can't do it all in a day. It's very hard. I mean, some people might have a day where wow, I exercised and I wrote and I talked to people this and I did this. I'm like, great, that's one day. Tomorrow they'll be exhausted. They'll do nothing.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think people have to stretch their balance out over the week, over the time, and be able to know what works for them. Are they the person that saturates themselves in one aspect of their life on Tuesday and then saturates someone different on Thursday? You have to be able to give grace to find out what really works for you and just honor when you know that something's not really being given the attention that it needs. And the people in your life are really supportive of that. Say, hey, you know, I really wanted to do some writing, and we haven't been able to do that. Can you help me find some time for that? Usually kids especially, they'll be like,
Oh,
"Great,
yeah.
can I play video games for 2 hours while you do this?" "Sure. We're gonna have or we're gonna do takeout, or we're gonna have cereal tonight,"
Mhm.
because we're gonna cave one area because I cooked for 3 nights in a row. Tonight, we're gonna do leftovers, and the next night, we're gonna do, like I said, cereal or pancakes or something because I need to throw some balance this way. It's all it's all a yin and yang.
Yeah. Are there any signs for you specifically that you're maybe a little bit out of balance?
Oh, absolutely. When you get to the point, guilt is good, personal guilt is good.
Mm.
You feel like you gotta make personal goals. I think there's nothing good, about making your goals too long. You can't say, "I'm gonna do this year." You need to be able to pull it back in and really celebrate every little step that you make. I think that's one way to when I do feel out of balance or feel like, "Wow, I haven't really given this the attention it deserves," and I made a goal for myself to write so many pages by the end of the month. To me, that's too big a goal. It should be how many by the end of the week, because who
Mm.
knows what's gonna happen by the end of the month. And then if I was gonna write 3 pages that week and I wrote 1, I probably should celebrate, because 1 is better than none. And strategic celebration is really, I think, the key to self-motivation and the key to helping other people wanna celebrate with you and be part of your goals. If you're gonna celebrate every time, your friends are in on that.
Yeah. And it helps your brain release more of the chemicals that keep you motivated too. Because your brain recognizes you don't really recognize the start of a project. You don't really recognize the completion of a project. What your brain recognizes is that progression. A little bit of progress. Good job. You're getting the chemicals. You stop the progress, now that
Progress is
guilt is going to come in.
I'm 100%. Celebrate the progress.
Yes. Yeah.
You can't wait till the end. And if I mean, even if let's say I was gonna write and I got everything set up and ready to go, and I didn't, I got it set up and ready to go. That was more than I did the day before.
Yeah.
It's still progress. Anytime you've moved the needle, you have to have a little one of these.
Absolutely.
And whatever that looks like to you. You know, if it's a piece of chocolate, if it's a stretch, if it's a, whatever it is to you, know what makes you feel valued and give yourself a little bit of that every time you move the needle. Because everybody knows everything's small steps. 1,000 small steps it's 1,000 steps and you're
Mhm.
still going to get somewhere. Trajectory is everything.
Yep.
Well, perspective is everything. Trajectory is second.
Yeah. What is a movie that you think more people should take the time to watch?
Thing is that depending on the person, I've probably seen the movie Constantine. I'll watch
Ooh.
it anytime it's
Yeah.
on. Like, I can't sleep, I'll watch Constantine. But I'll also watch anything that's, Guardian of the Galaxy, any of that. That's also, a favorite of mine. La La Land, I'll watch that over. I just won't actually, I don't watch all of La La Land, I just clip to the parts that I want, the dance scenes, and then go over and over and over again. And then no matter how many times I've watched, I still create a new ending at the end.
Yeah. That's great.
And then I'll flip and watch something like Lincoln, with Daniel Day-Lewis, because 'cause I'll be like, "Wow, this is really cool."
Yeah.
People should watch these epic movies where there's phenomenal acting and historical events and just make you feel intellectually grounded, where Guardian of the Galaxy is a different part of my personality. I'm all over the place, but it's,
No,
a
you
little bit
gotta
of everything.
you gotta have the ones, and that's also like part of knowing yourself a little bit too, is okay, am I in the mood for Constantine? Am I in the mood for Lincoln? Am I in the mood to watch some La La Land? Am I in the mood to watch some Guardians of the Galaxy? And just knowing like that about yourself a little bit is really helpful, because if for me, it's things like The Princess Bride or Twilight. Like, do I want to watch
Yeah.
Friends today? Do I want to watch Grey's Anatomy today? Very different shows. Do I want to watch some Criminal Minds? Like, you got to have that understanding of yourself to go, okay, what am I going to take the time to watch? Because you really are like, it's feeding yourself still. And it's part of that self care and making sure that all of your buckets are filled. But what are you filling your bucket with? Is it something that you need right now? And just kind of knowing that about yourself is like, yeah, I think it's really important, actually.
I would beware if you were at someone's home and all they had were movies of the same genre. They were
Mm.
just all horror movies, all of them. I would be like, "I'm scared of you." I mean, I'm a little scared. You're cute, you're adorable, but I know deep inside I should be scared because you
Yeah,
now know 50 to 55 ways probably to kill me.
true. That's true.
Yeah. So I would be
We do have a great question in the chat. Rose would like to know, do you do any arts and or crafts?
oh, well, Rose, I used to be an art teacher.
Oh,
So I have a
fun.
whole so I have a whole art room, and I'll pick up different things. I love to do ceramics. Anything that's three-dimensional though, because I'm pretty hands-on, is I'll try to do. And if you don't have a creative outlet for someone like myself, you get cranky. We'll just start painting something
So what made you switch from being an art teacher to this?
to the grief support.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, I did art teaching was one of the things that I did when my son was very young, because I have a couple of different degrees, and one of them is in art, and needed to work around his school schedule.
Mm,
But it was when I was teaching art that I really discovered my love of teaching. I can literally say the same thing every day with as much excitement and true, genuine, um, you know, I just love people to get it, whatever it is. It's just fun when people understand it. And so when you have to teach, you get to explain something in a way that is unique to that person.
mm,
And then the next person will come along and they have a different filter and a different experience. And you get to find new ways to express the same understanding to this brain and this person. And so it's always interesting to when you get that light up moment. And so this is one of those things that you take with you wherever you go when you have a skill like that and you really enjoy it and enjoy that connection. I mean, when you see an area where your life allows you a level of understanding and connection and wisdom, you have an obligation to share that. When you see people who are struggling in areas and get confused, then I'm going to naturally fall into my teaching gift. And I'm going to want to find ways for them to relieve them of that and to give them power and tools and confidence. And this is one of those easy areas to teach because you don't have to go too far to help people realize they don't know.
mm.
The number one thing in teaching is first you have to make sure people think they don't know. You don't know what to do. And so I'm going to help you learn. And that's a great feeling. And they're already feeling somewhat awkward. So they're two
Mm,
steps in and they're already, because learning is a weird position. You always have to feel like you don't know. And everybody wants to feel like they do know. We always, we have this facade. I mean, the people who ask the most questions always have the most answers. And they spend the less time than the rest of us feeling awkward and
mm.
insecure because we raised our hands. And so this is just one area. And I have a few other areas that I get to share and help people through. And then if they come up with questions that I don't know, we get to figure it out together. And then I get an aha moment too, and everybody wins.
So you never really quit being a teacher. You just adapted it to a different
Nah,
different area.
exactly.
Yeah. It's very much a calling. My oldest is going into an education degree. He's about to move into the dorms on Friday, and he has known he wanted to be a teacher for like his whole high school career. And I'm like, that's great. That's a calling because I have tried to talk him out of it. I think
It's tough.
he will be a great teacher. And don't think I tried to talk him out of it because I think he'd be a bad teacher because that's not it. He's going to be a wonderful teacher. The kids in his class are going to be just so lucky to have him as a teacher. But being a teacher is hard. And especially being a teacher in Texas right now is hard, especially if you're a non-traditional teacher in Texas right now. It's really hard. So we've had all those conversations and he's
Sure.
still like, no, mom, this is what I want to do. So I really do believe that teaching is definitely a calling for some people. It sounds like you're one of them.
He's younger.
Mhm.
So, I'm older. And so when we went to school or when I went to school, there was a certain level of respect that was expected. There were things that you just did not do. And so here, a lot of those have been grayed and kids are under so much more pressure. So
Mm,
he at least has better understanding of how to navigate that and probably is more comfortable in that kind of chaos than I would be trying to teach in
yeah.
public school situation now, I don't know.
Yep.
I'd probably get fired.
It does happen.
But I feel yeah, it would be okay. That's another story. I have so many weird things I used to do when I was teaching art that, I probably couldn't do now, but it would be worth it.
Yeah. Now, moving a little bit into our topic tonight, you have experienced a lot of loss personally. How has that shaped the way you think about death and grief?
Well, I've realized that for one, there's a whole variety of grief. The grief is truly unique to the person who's going through that loss and experience that relationship loss.
Mm.
Um, and that you can't understand grief at all until you have it. And once you have it, and you will have it, you'll have it for the rest of your life. It's something that comes to be part of you, just like falling in love for the first time. If you've never been in love, you feel your heart get expand, and you do. That's a unique experience. You're going to take that knowledge with you forever. If you have children, all of a sudden having not all your listeners would relate, but being pregnant, you can't really explain that to someone
Mm-hmm.
until you have. It isn't us and them in the world.
Yeah.
And once someone experiences grief, now they have it in there as part of their personality and as part of their emotional repertoire. And then what you realize once you continue with the natural loss of life, that grief is becomes more and more unique to whatever that relationship is that you've lost, or that connection.
Mm.
So it's really changed my way of thinking about that. And it also has really helped me each time to gain a better perspective on joys of life and honoring people, and how you can feel so many different feelings at the same time, that emotions are layered and they're at the same time. It's really a jambalaya of emotions that you can feel, and to be happy in all of them. And if someone on the outside hasn't experienced that emotion, they are going to feel awkward, even if it's a positive experience that you have and they don't, like children, birth, or love, or if it's a one that I'm going to say is an unfortunate one, like grief and loss and missing people. And so it's always going to be slightly awkward, but we have to accept that and not make these situations about our awkwardness.
Mm. Mm-hmm. I do like understand the kind of us and them mentality a little bit. I wonder I wonder though, everyone experiences grief at some point. A lot of folks will experience it quite young because a grandparent dies or something like that. Do you think that there's a difference between a kid going through the loss of like a grandparent and maybe an adult going through the loss of a parent? And do you think if someone's loss be greater and they still don't get it even if they've been through? I guess is kind of my question.
Sure. I mean, I'm not sure if I really understand the question, because I think it's kind of more than one question in there.
Probably.
Um, but I'm going to try to address it, and you
Yeah.
course correct. Just interrupt me. I said, yeah, on one level is that when a young child, you know, maybe under the age of 8,
Mhm.
experiences grief, or a loss of someone, it is different for them because their emotional bandwidth is more limited.
Mhm.
They get over things quicker. Doesn't mean they're going to get over this, but I mean, they feel feelings very intensely, and they feel them very quickly.
Yeah.
We have a lot of layers that we have to get through, a lot of baggage. We think about things. They're not going to compartmentalize this grief, and they're not going to have an understanding about that. So it is their first opportunity to get a baseline of what this is going to be like, and it's
Mm.
very important for the people around them to be able to talk about it, because they're going to get this early on. What happens? Let's say grandma sick? Did this child watch her parents take care of someone?
Mhm.
Did they watch someone decline? Did you talk about it at each, saying, this is what's happening? And you don't force them into a situation either, because every child is different. Every person's different. So if they're very young and going to a funeral, or being if someone is in hospice, if this is something that is traumatizing for them,
Mhm.
don't force it. Um, but everyone, as it gets older, as you're an adult, now you have a different relationship with this person. What I've seen is, I'll give the example. You have a brother and a sister, and their mom dies. Now, the sister and the mom were best friends. They talked every day on the phone. They FaceTime. So when this woman left, that daughter lost two relationships.
Mm,
She lost her best friend and she lost her mom. So she's going to experience two relationship loss the brother isn't going to experience. Because even though they live in the same home, they had different relationships with this person. And so they're losing different parts of that relationship and different parts of that personality. And when that hits them will depend on when they experience that loss. Sometimes people seem to be pretty okay. Like they're upset, they're sad. And then Christmas comes and they're lost it.
yeah.
And, you know, so in that sense, it is very different. I do think that one of the reasons that grief is so different for each individual is that the amount of w- hopes and dreams that you have in a relationship, you don't have your hopes and dreams really connected with a grandparent. You have an early
Hmm.
expectation. Once they reach a point of elderly, we can all be old. I'm old, but I mean elderly, that they're not going to live forever. I mean, the grandparents will say this, when I die, I'm going to leave this to you. So there's all these little bits of expectations that's thrown in the mix. So your hopes and dreams of what you're going to be doing in your life isn't really wrapped around them.
Mm,
But when you have maybe someone like a spouse, and your parents too, they may be very close to you, but your future plans might be as grandparents or something. But it's not like a marriage where you lose someone and now what am I going to do? Or
mhm,
a child where you thought we're going to have grandkids, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and I'm going to. Now, what do you do with those hopes and dreams that are gone? It's
mhm,
like, where is my future going to go? So, and that kind of loss and having to recalculate and to completely rebuild your perspective on life, that doesn't happen so much if it's a work colleague. It passed because you had a very limited relationship with them, and your hopes and expectations with them weren't about a long-term future. They were your work buddy who was really funny at work, um, or was very consistent or something, and then something happened. And so all that all it does change for each one. And I think people don't realize that because they experience grief at a grandparent, which is pretty common, and then their friend experiences grief from a spouse or child. Wow, what you cannot compare. So when this
yeah.
person over here says, "I understand what you're going through," because my nana died, and this person's going to be, I don't know if we can be friends anymore
Right.
because you don't get it.
Yeah.
And so it's that kind of misconception that all grief is the same and it's all hard. It's some is just more devastating and you'll feel it longer and heavier and it will have more areas of your life that you will have to readjust and rebuild.
Yeah. Beautiful job taking a convoluted question and giving it a wonderful answer because that covered what I was trying to get at much better than I was
Good.
trying to get at it. So excellent. Now, I know the title of your book is kind of humorous, right? What not to do at funerals. And the
Yeah.
cover
Makes
even
sense.
looks a little, yeah, the cover even looks a little funny. So was humor
It is.
always a part of how you coped, or did that come later as a way to make death more approachable, specifically with the book?
Well, I'm so lucky that I come from a funny family.
Okay.
Yeah. Humor is healing. Humor is a resetter. Humor can be inappropriate, but some people like inappropriate. Um, and it's meant humor is healing. Humor is, humbling. Humor brings people together. And there's not a person out there. I mean, when you can talk about a funny thing that happened with the person that passed, that's a great connection. I mean, I'd
Yeah.
love to be remembered that way. And so to bring, I mean, humor is part of life. And if this was a relationship you had, I hope and pray that that was a fun one. And humor is important even for people who haven't really experienced this. I mean, the point of one of the reasons I needed to make it a guide and to make it short and to make it punchy is so people remember it. Because if you can download it on your way to the funeral and you can laugh a little bit, you'll tell somebody about it. To say, "Oh, here's oh, I can't believe she said that. That was so rude. I'm gonna what else can I say? I'll do this." And just adding a little bit of humor and making it quick and funny, you're gonna remember it and you'll share it. And you won't gonna get triggered. You're not gonna feel like it's gonna be horrible. You know, yeah, it's awkward, but so is, I wish people would tell people there was boogers in their nose. That's awkward. And so when you go, "Hey," you have a little thing, and then you walk away. There's a pattern. It's real simple. You have a little thing, walk away, hand them 2 tissues, and walk away. Don't let them have to figure it out in front of you. Don't stare at them. There's a system. It's a 3-point system to avoid awkwardness, look like the bigger person, and know that the next time around, they're gonna say, "Hey, you have gum on your shoe or there's something in your hair," because they know you're the kind of person that is not thrown by odd things. And if someone has a booger in their nose, I can't hear them anyway,
'Cause all you're doing is
because all
looking
I'm
at
thinking about is
it.
it's and so now we've lost connection. And so if you can just address a little awkwardness and learn a couple steps like that, you're back to connection. You feel relieved, they feel relieved, and your relationship's probably better over a booger. And so if it could be that a little bit better of a booger, I think how much better it could be over a book,
Mhm.
a funeral. It could be great.
Yeah.
I don't want any more relationships going down because of some stupid little mistake.
You talked about, the humor and that some people like more humor, some people like dark humor. There's kind of that balance. So, how do you find the balance with humor and respect when you're talking about something as heavy as death?
I think you have to look at your audience. I mean, there are situations around where people will just have a nervous giggle and
Hmm.
they'll be laughing. So, I mean, I think there's 2 parts of this. There's the situations where people have laughed. Like your situation you spoke of earlier, I appreciate you doing that. That was very nice because it could be embarrassing. But just the people around you heard. Um, if someone was giving a very solace eulogy, they're very somber and they're crying and they're emotional, and someone started laughing in the back of the room. Yeah, I think how that would might
Yeah.
they now that, but what are you going to do? Something happened. You have to go approach them right away
Hmm.
and say. I mean, there was a situation where someone told me of that their uncle had died and their aunt was talking about him. And it was very emotional because their love of their life. And this one who's always cracks jokes when she gets nervous said to her cousin next to her, she's like, I guess their uncle used to put jelly beans up his nose
Oh, no.
at Easter. And she goes, I wonder if he's got a jelly bean up his nose. And they both started laughing. But that's an endearing, humorous
Hmm.
story that made them remember how much they loved him. So what do? You walk right up to your aunt and say, "That was beautiful. I'm sorry that we laughed. We were talking about Uncle Edgar's jelly beans in his nose and how much we loved him.
Yeah.
I love you. I love Uncle Edgar. I don't remember his name was Edgar. I love the story. And you're all forgiven because it's about the connection."
Yeah.
So, you know, and I, there's not a day in the worst of days where I probably haven't laughed about something. Um, Life is really funny. I'm sorry. It's weird
Yeah.
and it's funny. And you have to really focus on those things because the people, I believe, the people that have left, the pets that have left, the people that aren't connected, you know, they brought joy into your life somewhere. And if they can still bring you joy, if those memories bring you joy, then that's their gift. And you can laugh and cry at the same time. And people are always afraid to do that. But humor is really important. And I think more people should not be afraid to. I know there's people that feel like it would be disrespectful, or that if I'm not crying and I start to laugh about something, that I don't care about them as much.
Mm.
And that is just simply not true.
Yeah. You say that a lot, or whenever you're watching things about like family interviews when there's been an actual like tragedy, not just a normal death, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
and there's a suspect for some reason. I'm specifically thinking of my grandmother when my grandfather went missing and there was a press release and people were so critical of like, why isn't she crying harder? And it's like, okay, you don't know how she copes. You don't know what is going on in her head. You don't know how hard she cried earlier today. You don't know how much she's trying to hold it together.
Right.
Like you don't know how someone is going to react. And all of that is so situational. And it's like, yeah, later that day, she and I laughed about something. Oh no. you know, that doesn't negate the sadness and the heaviness around the situation. And it's
Oh, it
that's really
relieved
hard
it.
to understand. Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
Well, I think those folks, what are they looking for?
Yeah.
What are they looking for? They're not interested in the whole story. They're looking to judge your grief based on a really quick little
Yeah.
situation. When someone they don't know what someone's going PTSD. A lot of times, in order to deal these traumatic situations, you have to put your emotions on hold.
Yeah.
Not everybody can do it, but a lot of people will didn't even know they could do it,
Mhm.
and they do it. And to be able to function, you sometimes have to put yourself on hold. And even with and so kind of I would love to be the person who got to respond to those folks, because I would definitely put it back on them. What are you looking for?
Mhm.
What are you trying to judge? You know, it's not if are you looking for her to cry? Would that make you feel better? Because it's really about
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
None of these and that's one of the biggest things. None of this is supposed to be about that person. It's supposed to be about people that are grieving, the people that have had the loss, the other relationship. And we have a society that's really kind of strung up on it makes me feel awkward,
Mm.
or I'm not saying what I want to say, or I'm going to judge it this way, and not taking enough time to think about it in the other way. Because their little thimble of discomfort or their little thimble of judgment cannot compare to that anvil of grief and
Yeah.
fear and not knowing she needed to hold it together to get these things done.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there was a part of her that just wanted to go on the floor and cry
Oh, yeah.
and scream because she's scared to death. But, people have this weird way of judging what's closest to them, this tiny little bit, as being so much more valuable and not seeing the big picture.
Yeah. Most definitely. I know a lot of folks find it very uncomfortable to talk about death. Is there one way that people can start, if not feeling comfortable, then maybe feeling a little less uncomfortable when they're talking about something like that?
Well, probably not. So you just have to it's just jumping off.
Mm.
Just do it. I think, when you're starting to feel anxiety or stress because you don't know, the first thing is to always ask a question.
Mm.
What should I do? What would you like me to do? Let's say it was you and I, and we're work colleagues. You sit in a cubicle next to me, and I know that someone died. All I'm gonna say to you is that, "Hey, I just want you to know that you're one of my favorite people at work, and I couldn't do my work day is always better when you're here. I know that you're going through a lot. I wanna support you, and I don't know how.
Mm.
Can I do tell me some people get upset, "Don't talk to this about this at work. Why would you do that to me?" And other people are saying, "Why is no one talking to me?
Yeah.
I'm grieving." So if you don't know, the best thing is to say, "You're important. I'm thinking of you." There's a process. You're important. I'm thinking of you. Tell me what I can do or not to do, because I don't wanna make it worse, and if there's anything I could do to make it better, your every day here at work, I'm gonna do it. And if you don't know today and you think of something tomorrow, will you let me know? If you bite off my head one day and you never did it before, I'm gonna wear it as a badge of honor that you felt comfortable enough that you could let it out on me. Just, a month from now, I probably won't like it. I was like,
Yeah.
she could see, add a little bit of humor.
Mhm.
Being that honest. I don't know what to do, but you're important and I want to do something. The other alternative is to do nothing. And then you really look like a jerk
Mhm.
because by doing nothing, you did put yourself first. You went your little bit of awkwardness. They're going through all this. Let people know they're valuable and important. What a great opportunity just to tell them that.
Yeah.
Oh, and it doesn't usually come up. And they might not know, but to know that they're being thought of means everything. Way of encouraging you didn't do anything. The best.
Yeah. And it can be a little bit, awkward if you, especially if it's not someone you know super well, or someone you used to know really well and haven't talked to in a really long time, and one of their parents died or something. Like that can be a little awkward. But
Yeah, send the card still.
yeah,
You still
yes.
send a card.
Yeah.
You find out 3 years later that somebody died, well, that's when you found out.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's when you send the card.
Yep.
Because that they're still in a relationship with that person. That's still their brother. That's
Mhm.
still their parent. That's still their friend. I didn't s But what a great feeling it is for a few years later for someone to say, even if it was on Facebook and they reached out, and then and I said, "You still should send a card," and they sent a card. Oh my god,
Mhm.
to be I mean, that's gonna make them cry and laugh at the same time.
Yeah.
They'll love that. And you look like a great person because when you this is a real life. It's
Mhm.
a real life, it's a real person. You should go out, be able to go out, go to the store, get a card, sign it, put a stamp on it, because this is a real person.
Mhm.
This isn't your Netflix subscription. This isn't a swipe right or left kind of thing. This isn't something you should be sending an e-card that you did in 30 seconds. It's something you should actually go out, make, I collect them so that I have them on hand because it's going to happen,
Mhm.
and show just a little bit of value and a little bit of honor. And it goes a long way.
Yeah. Do you think younger generations are approaching death differently than older ones?
Totally. It's like, I think it's hard for them. I mean, especially after COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of younger generations really, people just stopped having funerals. This is when the celebration of life really became popular,
Mhm.
and those are all over the board. You could have those in a hockey rink. You can have them in a restaurant. You can have them after the funeral. Then they can have them before. They can have a celebration of life for the bowling club. Can have one. You know, they're really changing the way that they do this. And so, I think they need to ask more questions.
Mm.
And they're also, and I will be critical in this sense, is that it is a generation is often very willing to be supportive. They might buy this glass because it supports water wells in Africa,
Mhm.
and they'll pay extra money for it, and they'll be supportive. And anybody who's got a cause, they're in for. But when it comes to their person, they seem to be at the greater loss of what to do.
Mm.
What's the skill set? How do you commiserate with someone or show empathy or show kindness? What are ways to go out and physically do something? That type of commitment seems to be very hard for them. Like, what would I do? And I mean, socially, there's so much online. You know, a lot of our kids don't want to drive right away. Now, or do a lot of this, but making sure personal connection. This is a great skill. I wish they would learn. And
Yeah.
that's why the book is actually directed towards those of millennial age, because it's kind of speaks to like what to do and how to set it up. And now they also very international. They're going to have folks that might be um, Middle Eastern. What do you do at one of those? Are they allowed to come in? Do they do flowers? Do they not do flowers? Does everybody put ashes on themselves? And if they don't know, they call a funeral director.
Mm.
They find out, but they don't not show. They're a group that is very willing not to show and say, "Well, I'll go talk to them when they feel better."
Mm.
And it's not the flu.
Yeah.
They're not going to feel better. And social media isn't therapy.
Mhm.
So on one side, they'll avoid totally until they'll feel better, or they'll go and do something that someone else is experiencing their grief or sharing it online, um, or looking for someone. And I think that both of those are good things to have, but people need one-on-one connection in their therapy, in their grief counseling, and I think they also need to do it as a support person. You
Mm.
actually need to physically show up.
Yeah. It's interesting that you said it's targeted towards millennials to me, because like I am a millennial. So and it's it's one of those, like, I feel like COVID especially really impacted Gen Z and the Alpha Gen Alpha or whatever the one underneath Gen Z is, more because that's what my two kids are. And I saw them like have to change everything overnight with school, and it really changed a lot of their social. I feel like millennials kind of already had that under their belt a little bit, but COVID specifically, like, well, because we're all adults, right? Like we were all already adults by the time COVID came around, and by the time the housing crisis of 2008 came around. But it's like one of those things of COVID really changed so much in just the way that death was viewed because everyone was dying. It was such a massive loss of life and a massive threat to life also. And then also just not being able to go. Like, you talk about, well, they're not going to go. Well, for several years, they weren't able to go. I've talked about this before, but my other grandfather died in December of 2019. And I am so grateful, looking back, I am so grateful that was the timing. Because if it had been a few months later and he died to breast cancer. So I always use that for like men's breast cancer awareness. Anytime he comes up, guys can get it too. Get yourself checked. Something weird is going on. Get yourself checked. Anyway, but I'm always like now looking back going, what a blessing it was that he died then, not a few months later, because we wouldn't have been able to have his funeral if it had been a few months later. And it's so impactful to me to think about that, because if we hadn't been able to have a funeral for him, he had he was a preacher, he was a funeral director himself, he was very involved in multiple communities in the area, and so he was very well loved, and his funeral was absolutely massive. And it was one of those things that it was just like, what would everyone have done? It's wild to me to think about just the difference that we would have had to have had, and the number of people who would not have been able to show their support just by showing up. They wouldn't have been able to kind of take that step.
That's right.
So it's crazy the way that things just changed overnight, specifically during COVID. And I think it's going back the other way now, but it's still not back to how it was.
It did isolate.
Yeah.
But it isolated people from being part of the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it almost put a new normal that it was okay not to go.
Yes. Yeah.
And that became very big. Like, well, I don't have to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a huge complaint. You think people wouldn't know who shows up, but they do.
Yeah.
They know who doesn't.
Yeah. Very much.
And I was always very surprised. I thought, wow, they're going to be grieving. There's going to be a long.
How can normalizing conversations about death help us live more fully?
Oh my gosh. Well, life is limited. It is just silly. I think you're going to be here forever. And you never know when someone's going to pass. As you get older, it's going to happen more. But there are so many people that I've known that have just died suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many suicides, and there's so many overdoses, and there's car accidents, and there's it's not always old age, it's not always lung cancer, and you really don't know how long you have the gift of these relationships. And it would be nice if we could tune things down and appreciate people a little bit more. And I think that if you can talk about, the nice thing is if you can get a conversation about death or about grief. I mean, death, it's really grief because death happens, but it's the grief around death. And what kind of person do you want to be? Are you the kind of person that takes care of your parents, even if they don't remember who you are? Or are you the person that doesn't show? Are you the kind of person that's a friend to someone 2 weeks later when the PTSD is over and the 1,000 things they had to do to get ready for this funeral that they didn't know was going to happen? Now they're suddenly being hit with this emotional tidal wave of feelings that they didn't know they were going to have. Are you going to be the friend that shows up then? I think not only does being able to talk about the limitations of life and the limitations of your relationships, is it really helps you focus on how do you want to show up? What kind of person are you? What kind of person are people going to see you to be? And by doing that, you also become just a better person in general. Where are the goals I'm going to, where are the gifts that I have? How do I can make people's lives better? Because every day someone's going through something that you're never going to know.
Yeah.
And every day you have an opportunity to make someone's life better. Unless you sat home, you know, and during a blackout, or maybe then, but it's pretty hard not to have a day where you can't make someone's life better and to walk through this world thinking that the, every third person around you isn't going through something.
Mm-hmm.
Because in life, you're either going through something hard, you're about to go through something, or you just got over something. And so that's the wave of life. And some of those dips are higher and the dips are lower and some of them, the highs are higher. But that's the natural wave.
Mm-hmm.
And to be a wave rider means living life well. And so being able to talk about something that it's so universal and so going to happen
Yeah.
to yourself, to your kids, to your family, it just helps really hone in on the benefits of these relationships and the type of relationships you want to have. So I think it's a great way to just make you remember how precious relationships are. And it's funny, and someone had to die to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay.
It's very much we're not promised tomorrow. We're not even really promised the rest of today.
You're not. And people might say that might be a morbid way to think, but it also puts the fire underneath you.
Mhm.
It gives you the why to keep moving. It's well, why do I have to do this? We were speaking earlier about um, being able to juggle all these different things. But why do I make sure that I have
Mm-hmm.
an outlet for creativity? Because I was given a creative spirit, and it's important for me to exercise that. It keeps me balanced. It keeps me creative, and people like me when I feel balanced and creative. So it's maybe my grandmother was an artist, so it makes me think of her. So these kind of things just keep life moving in the right direction. And there's too many things that weigh us down, that anchor us down. And most of it is just trying to get out of our own way, which is the worst perspective you can have because you can't see anybody when you're just focused on yourself.
Mm-hmm. Very much. If there's someone listening today who has a funeral to go to, maybe coming up, what's the most important piece of advice you would want them to hear?
Oh, there's so many. I would say go with something to say. Go with a memory. Go with, some memory of that person. If it's a work colleague, you say, maybe you've met their family or you had met their family. You'd say, hey, I loved sitting next to Jay. Was always great at work. He always he always thought he was going to win the lotto, and he made the best. That's a memory that they're going to that makes him important and is thought of, and it also shows that he made an impact in people's lives. So go with something. A memory is probably the best thing you can. But if you get to up there with if it's someone closer and you get close to, let's say it's a closer family member or someone, and you start to cry. Sometimes people don't want to speak because they think everyone's going to see me ugly cry. Because once I start, I'm not going to be able to stop. If know your audience, if that person's a hugger, embrace. Just no pats. Give them a long hug.
Mm-hmm.
My heart is breaking. My heart is breaking. That means they're feeling what you're feeling, that they're upset too. It doesn't have to be a long story. But stories are great because people love to talk about the people that they're not going to have new stories about. So keep the old stories alive. Make sure to touch. Don't ever be afraid to mention someone's name.
Mm-hmm.
If it makes them cry, it's because they love them and they'll appreciate it and they'll love those tears.
Yeah.
Especially, in those situations. I think that's one of the biggest things. And just remember, it's not about you. It's about honoring the life and about supporting the grievers.
Mm.
There's a lot of things people shouldn't do. You got to ask me that.
Well, that was going to be my next question. What are the most common mistakes people make at funerals?
There's so many crazy ones. I mean, I've had people say, I think the person was murdered and they didn't know how it happened. Can we talk about it? No, No, you cannot talk about that. Because, again, honoring the life, supporting the grievers. We do not talk. We've had people say, you know, can we ask how they died? No, no. You don't even ask any of the family members. You ask a friend of a family member
Mhm.
if you want to get in that conversation outside, because you don't want to be in earshot. And no, you don't take selfies. You don't take selfies. Sorry, guys, no selfies. Not in a funeral home. You have to ask, can they take pictures? Can they not take pictures? Because one, you don't know who's in the background. Two, you don't, there might be some ugly crying people. They don't want to be there. And it just, because you're going to go and maybe like your grandfather had a lot of friends. He was very well known. There's going to be people who hadn't seen each other in a while, and they might be like, oh, hey, this is great. Just keep that on one side so that it doesn't look uncaring. It doesn't
Yeah.
look like you were being disrespectful. You don't have to wear black, but don't, no evening gowns, no shorts, no flip flops. It's honor it's not about you. The person's in the garden club, and so you want to wear a bright dress. It's not about you. You will dress respectfully. If the family members want to, that's up to them. It's just can't keep it the same. I'm here to honor and respect. But I feel that a lot of people these days couldn't give you a definition of honor.
Mm.
So they don't know really what to say for that. And if you make a mistake, if you show up late, don't show up late. Everyone's going to know you showed up late. You can't slip in the back. You can't. It's quiet. Everyone's
Mhm.
going to look. If you want to bring your kids, bring them if they want to. If they don't, if they're babies, sometimes you have to sit in the back or have someone else.
Yeah.
And if they're going to have a funeral, they might need someone like me, a funeral director, or someone to guide people out or about who are inappropriate or sometimes inebriated. They come and they've been drinking, doing shots before. Now they're dressed inappropriate or they're loud. And they don't mean to be, but you should always have a buffer.
Yeah.
I've had my own Jerry Springer moments, and I had to have a buffer.
Yeah. I think the part about, making sure that first of all you show up and you don't show up late, but then also the part of honor and really it's you're not there to take away from the person or their family in any way, shape, or form. Like you are there to pay your respects to someone. You are not there to, try to steal the show or make any sort of statement. You gotta get to show up authentically, but you also have to show up with the family in mind. And if you're part of the family, like have a discussion. If you want to wear a bright dress and you're part of the family, have that discussion with at least one other person in the family first. But then, do
Right.
it however you need to do it. But yeah.
Well, wear what you would wear if you're going to a job interview.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
That's perfect. Now, you're not going to go wrong there. Job interview,
Yep.
that kills any evening gowns, any high slits. You don't have to wear heels.
Yep.
Job interview. And guys, you're not wearing your work boots. Nice cowboy boots might be fine, but not the muddy, you know,
Mm-hmm.
grungy worked out. But, you're not wearing neon colors because you couldn't put a different shirt on before you got there.
Yeah.
It's 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 amazing how simple it is,
Mm-hmm.
and yet just not thought of.
Yeah.
I think it's after the funeral where people can make the biggest impact.
Mm.
I think people make the biggest screw ups at the funeral, but the biggest impact afterwards. You know, people don't realize how much work it is when someone passes.
Yeah.
People have stuff and bank accounts, and you've got to get all this stuff done, but you only get maybe 3 days to do it. And what if this person is across the state? What if they're in Utah or
Mhm.
California and you have to drive to go over there? And if they have to get how to be a friend in those situations is really a good friend. Show up with food. There's I say in the book, if a person has to, I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get to get to the airport because someone died, then you should offer to be the best Uber driver at 3 o'clock in the morning with
Yeah.
a smile on your face, because they're not going to Disney World.
Right.
And that's so you lose a little bit of sleep, but they will never, ever, ever, ever forget that you did that for them.
Yeah.
Ever. I guarantee it, 10 years later, you're still gonna be one of their closest friends because you were willing to make a little sacrifice,
Hmm.
you know? There's so many small ways that people can really show up without having to have a heavy conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything you personally witnessed that you were like, oh my gosh, that's definitely going in the book about what not to do at a funeral?
Gosh, they were so well, we've already talked about a few. I've seen people show up in some really inappropriate outfits, um, and, you know, glittery mini skirts and, and muddy work boots. I've seen people go around and round and talk about, "Oh, they should have gone to my doctor. I told them
Oh,
they should have gone to my
no.
doctor."
Oh,
Oh,
no.
yeah.
Oh, no.
You know, the whole selfie thing, people completely stand on they can't stand up drunk.
Mm,
And there's people who won't go because of other family members.
yeah.
God, that breaks my freaking heart, you know? Because I think they should go. I think they should make a plan what they're gonna say. I think they should walk in. It takes 15 minutes to say your respects. It's not about anything else. It's just, "Hey, I'm here to respect Uncle Alfred. I loved him, and I know you loved him. Let's just say my respects because I loved Uncle Alfred." Boom. It's not about this, it's not about that.
Yeah.
Just gonna stay I'm not even gonna stay, but I'm gonna respect Uncle Alfred. Now, at the end of that, you're the bigger person. And if you don't show, then they'll go, "Oh, look what else guess what else she didn't do?
Hmm.
She's a screw up, she's a screw up, and she didn't show the funeral." Why give them the ammo?
Yeah.
Go in, go out. But the whole family fight thing that happens, it's is a real thing that goes on. These are highly charged situations. Um, and like I said, you people know who's coming. They gotta be prepared. Gotta tell the funeral director or whatever. But you really have to be prepared for just about anything.
Hmm.
People have, I've seen people faint. I've seen people getting physically sick. I've seen people, just lose it. I've seen people zombie out. I had someone try to fight me at a funeral. There's like,
No, thank you.
oh yeah, they're like jumping over people. I'm going, we're gonna kill her. I'm like, okay, not today. It's keeping it into perspective is is like, just expect something crazy to happen. Like at a wedding, something's gonna go wrong.
Yeah.
It's part of life. It's approaching it and trying to make sure that you keep the relationships going no matter what. You have to have a little bit of forgiveness and a lot of guidance.
Yeah.
Let people know what your expectations are.
Mm. You touched on this a little bit earlier, kind of the social skill set maybe not being developed these days. But aside from that, or maybe including that, why do you think so many people struggle with knowing what to say or do around grieving people?
Well, I think we've had a few decades of people not talking about it.
Hmm.
And I think we also had from a couple previous generations, um, people who are, what is people in their 60s, 70s?
Like the boomer generation or the
Yeah,
the silent
the
generation?
boomers,
Yeah.
the silent generation, the boomer generation. These were people that also didn't talk about it.
Hmm.
Were almost kind of sandwiched because there was that post World War II generation, the generations where they also had a lot of war.
Yeah.
People who came home from war didn't talk about war. They spent maybe a month coming back from Europe on giant tanker ships, and there was a little bit of commiserating, there was a decompressing, and now they're over very quickly. And it was thought of in many circles, um, that you don't talk about things. We didn't talk about sex. We didn't talk about death. We didn't talk about things. Just let it lie. People said, I never, and they talk a lot about it. And then now it skips another generation and every generation kind of has their thing, but it's not, it's kind of started back then.
Hmm.
It's the grandparents didn't. So we've had a few decades, and each decade has had its own issue on not communicating around these.
Yeah.
It's yet I think the next one these these people that are little kids right now, I think they've got it the best because now back then it would be no one would ever say I was in therapy.
Mhm.
And now it's just hard it's hard to find a good therapist because there's everybody is understanding that mental health is different with physical health and emotional health, that it's a real thing and it's okay. And to the point where now I think, we have to have some tools.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll have so many tools that the next generation, like your kids will be like, I've got this. That's why
Yeah.
he's going to be such a great teacher because he's going to have so many tools
Mhm.
that these other generations either didn't have or one tool at a time. But it's been a long time. This
Mhm.
wasn't something that just happened overnight. It's been kind of an American thing that's happened over the last 60 years, uh, I think, where we've really became detached and then through trauma and through crises, people came together. And maybe in those situations back in the days with the boomers and where they, or the, no, the silent generation when they came back from Vietnam
Mhm.
or Korea, or even is it they were all went through it together.
Mhm.
We really haven't had a thing where a country went through something together until COVID.
Yeah.
We can say we did this, so at least we can do being able to come together and we can talk about that because we all went through it. They kind of didn't have to, but they could too. They could because they all went through it. So let's not talk about it and let's get on to something fun like the 70s. It was a very traumatic time,
Mhm.
but it also had other positive things to it. See, it all changed.
Yeah.
But now, hopefully, we're getting to a point where people can start embracing some of these awkward situations and really feeling like they have more control over their lives and who they are and be able to be not only be a best friend to someone else, but to themselves.
Yeah. I do think that the generations growing up right now and everything, I think that they are going to be able to talk about it a lot more openly. Like I know at least my kids can express themselves pretty well. Of course, they have their moments of like not being able to really identify what's going on and stuff, but I couldn't identify jack shit when I was 18. So like they're way better than I was at 18. So I think that
Well, they have you.
well, yeah, and it's one of those things that it
That's a
is
big
talked
deal.
about. It's talked about in shows openly, it's talked about, it's portrayed in media better, it's portrayed online better, their friends are talking about it together, and all of that is just really a blessing. It really, really is. You brought up the Vietnam War, and I wanted to just say, if anyone is looking for a historical fiction book about the Vietnam War, maybe one you haven't read, I did finish fairly recently the book The Women by Kristen Hanna, which is about the women of the Vietnam War. It was really good. Historical fiction, not my thing. This one kept me going. It was great. It was really, really good. So if you haven't read that one, give it a shot. Because I didn't think I was going to like it. One of my friends read it and she was like, here, just take my copy of it and read it. And I was like, okay, fine. If you're going to give me a book to read, I'll read it. But I'm not going to like it.
He knows you.
But then I did. So it was really good. But they talked about the PTSD of coming back and not having anything set up for that yet. Because those systems weren't in place.
Yeah.
And now we have these systems in place. They are still not perfect. They still need a lot of work, but at least they're in place. And it was kind of the beginning of that acknowledgement, even of like, oh, we at least need to talk about this amongst ourselves. Maybe not publicly. Maybe we still stay silent on it, to everyone else who wasn't there. But at least among ourselves, we need to discuss this and we need to have somewhere safe that we can share this and really talk about it. So that was just an aside.
No, but it's true. And we've also found that, not all, even though there's a lot of young therapists out there,
Mhm.
and I will also say that I have been through a whole variety of different therapists, and I
Yeah.
found some that were really just for me, unique to me, personality wise, and others that were just good,
Mhm.
and others I was like, "You're an idiot."
Yeah.
I was like, you don't know what you're talking. You can tell they have no life experience to draw
Mhm.
from, because you know, there's intelligence, there's knowledge, and then there's wisdom, and unfortunately, you cannot get wisdom quickly.
Yeah.
It has to come through experience. You can read all you want on how to ride a horse, but until you ride a horse, you can never really understand that
Yeah.
and what that feels like to be sore the next day,
Mhm.
you know? And so those are life experiences. If we were talking about that, it could shorten you know, that time of wisdom for people. They could catch on quickly, go, oh my gosh, this is what they told me it was about. And to know that it's all going to be unique to you because your situations are always different. Even your kids going back to school, you're a working mom, you have all these pets. These people are going to tell you their experience, and you can draw from some of that
Yeah.
to shorten to your learning curve
Mhm.
and your wisdom curve if you're willing to accept their experience and their knowledge as information to take in, not as solid that I'm supposed to feel what you're feeling. My first day at college should feel exactly what someone else said it feels. Or if you read a book, know to be experiment with your own feelings with knowing in the background it could go this way. If it doesn't, it's all right. But just a little bit of like idea is goes a long way and makes less awkward
Yeah.
and moving through them quicker to wisdom, moving through into wisdom quicker.
Yeah.
I think this kind of book would help.
Yeah. I'm interested to give it a read, and I looked it up on Amazon, and it looks like I can read it on my Kindle also, which is great. So
Oh, yeah.
I'll probably read it on my Kindle just so that especially if it's short, like I'll just read it tomorrow.
That's why it's like download it on the way.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those books I think that should be in probably every funeral home, but it definitely should be on the short list of books that people should have in there. Because even if you're just trying to write a card to someone, you're like, I've just made 5,000 decisions today. I don't know what I'm going to write. You can go in here and I'll give you some things you can write.
Oh, that's great.
It might be different, or what can I say? Or I want to do something I don't know what to do. I think I get an idea. But just a quick go-to guide to just get over some of those things, um, so you don't have to think of it all. Because if you have to think about it, the chances are you may not do it.
Yeah. If someone realizes that they were that person who said or did the wrong thing at a funeral or after a funeral or before a funeral, how can they make amends?
Well, first they have to decide who the person they offended was.
Mm,
You know, if it's the widow or the parent or someone, you have to learn how to apologize. You got to just own it
Yeah.
fast, 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 fast. You know, if you know, because you don't want it to be seen that it was disrespectful.
Mm.
Accidents happen. People show up late for work, or they went to someplace else, or they laugh during the funeral. If they've made that mistake and they find out about it, I would. I don't think they should let it go. I don't think they should write a long letter, but I don't think they should let it go because they get remembered. Just go, I hope they won't remember. If you're saying I hope they don't remember, they're gonna remember.
yeah.
Just go, I didn't know. I didn't know at the time. Funerals are new to me. And I didn't know at the time that there was a dress code. I feel like a dope because I really admire you, or I really respect you, and I really honored him. And I was a little embarrassed that I didn't know this.
Yeah.
But if I had to do it again, I would do it different. And give me, I really love Ted. It's really going to be missed. And then they'll invite you to the next, or they won't ban you
Yeah.
because it's okay to own. It's really okay to make mistakes.
Mhm.
It is just really okay to make mistakes. Um, it's not okay to sit in them. It's not okay to pretend you didn't make them.
Yeah.
It's really, and maybe making that mistake, there was a reason why you made it. Maybe give them the opportunity to say, no, I thought it was funny or it was fine. You might make the mistake might be that you think you did something really wrong that you didn't. I mean, showing up and starting to fight, yeah, that might be a big,
Yeah.
you can apologize all you want. You're not going anywhere. You're not invited. You're out of the will. So there's those bigger ones. But if it's something small, no, I didn't realize that was wrong.
Yeah.
And that's so true with everything. It's amazing how fast people get overthrown it. And it's amazing how much you become the bigger person. And it gets easier. I mean, being able to empathy towards them, a personal offense, to have empathy enough, that's a muscle. You got to use it.
Yeah.
And it gets older and you practice it more.
Yeah. So Bite Mark sent in a question ahead of time. She would like to know, what is your favorite poem?
Depends on, wow, there's so many. I've probably read more Robert Frost than than anyone else.
Do you have a favorite one?
I
I guess his most famous one, the one that pops into my head when I hear Robert Frost, is The Road Not Taken. But I know that, I mean, there's tons more.
there are tons more, and they're not all great.
Fair.
You know, you're like, did he really write that? Okay. But there's so many. It's been a long time since I've really read a lot of poetry. I did so much in college, and I've always really drawn to. It's interesting that she mentions that. My son was really drawn to poetry, and he would take a line from one poem and maybe a line from the Bible and then a line from a book, and he would recreate. He'd string them together to create new poem.
Oh, very
You know,
cool.
or it was very cool, and you wouldn't know. You'd be like, "Wait, why does this seem familiar?" Because you've heard it, but you didn't
Yeah.
realize they were connected. He would connect the themes. Um, and I've always been impressed with how few words can make such an impact.
Mm-hmm.
I love the visual of words, and you can't get that anywhere other than poetry. But, it would be nice if there was more poetry around things like wonder and and joy and, how funny I think my big toe is or something. There's so many that's around dark and sad things. Um, I like poetry that's makes you stop and put yourself in the position.
Mm-hmm.
There can always be another story underneath.
Yeah.
It's the best part.
Yeah. Yeah. Poetry can be really impactful, and it can be really impactful in such a short amount of time too. Just like you're saying, just a few words. Doesn't take a lot. Or it could be a massively epic poem and it has so much meaning that you can't even make it all the way through it.
I probably won't. I
Yeah.
probably won't
Yeah.
because I'm the person that's always saying, "Okay, what's the point? Oh, where are we getting?" So in these really long speeches or long stories, I'm like, "Okay," as soon as they say, "And what I really want you to know is," then I chime in.
Yeah. Kind of get back in
So I
there.
like the short ones. Yeah, that's why the book's written the way it is.
See, there's a reason. What is your favorite life hack?
Life in general, I think the biggest life hack is doing things for other people.
Hmm.
If you want to life as a hack, life in general, because the question isn't really like, the best way to crack an egg or how to make sure your pizzas don't burn. It's a life hack, the best way to do laundry as that type of domestic life hack. But I think life as a hack is really about the joy of doing things for other people.
Mhm.
It's It's amazing. Just something little every day. It's amazing. I think the best life hack is smiling at other people. Watching people in the grocery store when you smile back at them. I'm in New England. They're not really, small talk is not their thing out here. They don't even know the nod.
Mhm.
We were different parts of the country, you nod up or you nod down and people walk by. Hello, 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 hello. Out here, they just keep looking. Oh God, don't talk to me. Oh God, don't talk to me. That's what they're saying. Um, but I think just the gift of being able to give someone a smile is one of the biggest life hacks you can do.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many people are just looking for someone to smile at them.
Mhm. Yeah, it really is.
It's so much fun. And pet more dogs.
Pet more dogs. Absolutely. It's funny you say that
There's no
about
way you can't increase your endorphins.
Yeah, no. It's funny you say that about people, not even smiling or nodding or whatever, because here, like, you almost run into somebody and they're going to say, "Hey, how are you?" Like, It's just a, hey, how are you? And you guys say, oh, fine, and you just keep walking. There's no real interaction. It's just a greeting. But you and I were talking about ahead of this whole conversation about giving people compliments and how you can just like genuinely compliment someone. And it's like, look, if it's already in your head, just let it out. Just let it out of your head, because you're not going to make the world worse by giving someone a compliment. So just do it.
And women, it's part of a, female speech, female greeting, as we often will, as part of our greeting ritual, find something about the other female that we like physically, their shoes, their hair, their eyes, where men can't do that. They don't understand it. They don't do that.
Mhm.
We do that. And men need to learn to give a compliment, but they need to learn to give non-physical compliment, because of the
Yes.
world we live in. I can't say, but just especially compliments around what people do. They do it well.
Mm.
It's so easy to go, God, you're a good filer. Just simple. People file, they file all day long, so they probably are a good filer.
Mhm.
Just to say, point out the obvious. Hey, you're really good at your job.
Mhm.
Hey, you always have a good attitude. Doesn't have to. Anything that people do every single day is probably one of the best ways to compliment them. I like how you do the dishes. And it also keeps the people in your life. If you can find something every day you like about the people in your life, you will always have something positive to think about them, even through hard times.
Yeah.
Even if your kids are going through a jerk, just always say, "Hey, I always like how you, you know, put your milk in and then the cereal. Oh, that's the weirdest thing ever, and I think you're adorable for it."
Mm.
I don't know. If you're always once you start thinking about that, it becomes habit,
Yeah.
and people really like to be seen.
Yeah. And if you don't know what to compliment, it's always safer to compliment something that someone has a choice over. I like your shirt. I like your glasses. I like your earrings. I like your lipstick, rather than something that they don't have control over, like their body and that kind of thing. That could get you into trouble. So just pick something that they chose and compliment that.
Definitely true.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
That's a great tip.
it is time for the magic moment. So if you could wave a magic wand and eliminate one common opinion or misconception surrounding mental illness, disabilities, or talking about mental health, or talking about death and funerals and grief, what would it be?
Oh, I would say one huge misconception. I want to say two. One is never be afraid to say the person's name
Mm.
to talk about someone who died afterwards.
Yeah.
That's a huge misconception, especially parents. We love our kids. We don't mind talking about them. We like to talk about whether they're alive, whether they're dead, wherever we think they are. They're next to us, whatever our beliefs are. We still like to talk about our kids all the time. So give us the opportunity. And around all kinds of mental health and handicaps is that everybody wants to be included in life. Everybody wants to be seen and laughed at and touched and hugged. Everyone wants to be included. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what you smell like. Include everybody. If you're, look different or you're handicapped, they want to be seen and loved and heard and understood, just like everybody else. So don't leave them out of the ugly or the whipped cream or the seeds. They want to be a part of the everything.
Yeah.
All of it. Don't just wait until a moment, because then again, that's making your own awkwardness more important.
Yeah. We've got a great question in the chat as well from Tib. Tib says, if I'm too late, don't worry about it. You're not too late, Tib. You're right on time. It's all good. Tib says, I often hear, I want to go first. How do you explain that age is a privilege, even when you live long enough to grieve for all you love?
How old is he? It was a she.
Tib, I don't know your age at all. So
It changes my answer.
yeah. I mean, I've like 25.
Here's the thing. Oh, okay. That's it. I understand. That would be weird for you. I think one of the things that happen when people have long relationships and you really love someone, one of the things that will hurt you the most is to hurt them.
Mm.
Watching them, knowing that your loss would make them grieve, knowing that they would be alone, knowing that they would have love in their that they couldn't put on anyone. it's a hug that has nowhere to go. So people sometimes will say, when they decide if they want to go first or second, on one side, there's that. 'Cause I don't want to leave you to grieve alone.
Mm-hmm.
And and then and then when people want to go first, I don't know, you know, um, it's because they don't want to be they're thinking about it from the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'd say, I want to go first because I couldn't live without you.
Yeah.
You know, when you have a life that's been entwined with someone else's life, when you live with someone and when you go to sleep and you breathe in and out when they breathe in and out as you sleep, when you can feel their presence when they've just pulled into the driveway because you just know they're close. When you become that connected with someone, when you know you're going to have to go through that feeling of disconnect. That can be one of the most frightening things in the world of how to live a life without that. And so both sides are hard. And I just bet everyone who says one way, later on they say, I want the other, then I want this, I want that. But because it is a privilege and it is a gift to be able to find a love that is that strong.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's usually said from people who have very strong, deeply emotionally, deeply spiritual connections with another person.
I know that my kids have said that to me. Like, they've said things like, I don't want to grieve you when you die. Like, I don't want to have to deal with you with your death. I don't want that to be it. And I've told them back, like, no way, don't do that to me. Absolutely not. I want to go first. Like, I don't want to have to
I'm like,
mourn.
well, you
I
wanna.
don't want to have to mourn a child. But they've said that to me and said, hey, I don't want you to ever die because that would suck. So I would rather die first. And it's like, we have these they're very, very like just glib conversations. They're not very super serious and everything. But yeah, like, we've said that before.
That's great. You
Yeah.
should have those little glib conversations. You should be, because they actually pave the way. They grease it for the
Mhm.
heavier conversations later. It's hard to have a heavy conversation if you've never been used to that.
Yeah.
Where do you develop that skill set of being able to know that you can trust the person you're talking to, that even if it's a parent or a sibling, that you're not going to say something that's going to be so awkward that they're going to slam the door in your face. So good job, mom. Have those little
Thanks.
fun conversations. Okay, because then the hard ones aren't so hard. You're
Mhm.
chipping away at that awkwardness all the time.
Yeah.
And you're doing it with a little humor.
Yeah. Oh, we're big. We're big on humor and dark humor and everything.
Big on humor.
It's yep, for sure. Well, I'm going to share your links one more time. Folks who are here in the chat, if you have any other questions, feel free to drop them in. And Barbara, I will just turn it over to you and let you plug anything you want to plug, talk about anything we didn't get to touch on while I share your links to your website and directly to your book as well for those who are interested.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Well, today really we're focusing on just this part of what not to do at funerals, or how to help with people who are grieving and how to be the best person you can be. And if you have any other suggestions, you're more than welcome to email me or contact me through my website. And then we're also working on another very awkward scenario, which is another little guidebook that I'm writing on getting out, and narcissist guide to escaping. It's a guide to escaping narcissism, kind of like a Jumanji a book of what to do, how to rewild yourself, how to forage, you know. So it's going to be punchy and fun, but it's going to be another toolbox just like this that's going to help people kind of navigate those awkward, scary situations and kind of get them some more empowerment. And so also, if there's anyone there's any speaking engagements that they would like me to come to, or if there's any grief groups, I would be thrilled to be part of that. They can contact me also through my website or directly through email.
Perfect. I'll be interested in the escaping narcissistic relationships because I definitely had to go through that without a guidebook. And boy, would a guidebook have been helpful back then.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, very much.
And everything out there is like how to find a narcissist. What do they look like? This, and there's like, oh God, okay, I know I'm the best person in the world because they all go after the good ones. This kind of thing. Yes, we know.
Yeah.
But we still need a little bit of step 1, step 2,
Yes.
some things we can do here and then there, how can we plan? And so these little toolboxes, there's nothing like that. We need
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
So I'm here to help.
Awesome. Well, let me know when that one comes out for sure, because I'll go read it.
All right.
Okay. Well,
Said,
thank you guys so much for sticking around and for being a part of this conversation. I really appreciate it. And Barbara, thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening and joining us and just being open and honest with us here. That's what this is all about. So thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you.
I hope you got as much out of that conversation with Barbara as I did. There's something really refreshing about someone who just tells it like it is without dancing around the uncomfortable parts. One thing that really stuck with me is this idea that we avoid doing things because we're afraid of being awkward. We don't send the card, we don't make the call, we don't show up to the funeral because we might say the wrong thing or wear the wrong outfit or start crying at an inappropriate moment. And all of that discomfort, that tiny thimble of awkwardness we're trying to avoid, means someone who's drowning in grief feels even more alone. That's not just about funerals, though. How many times do we not reach out to a friend who's struggling because we don't know what to say? How many times do we walk past someone who clearly needs help because getting involved feels too complicated? We prioritize our own comfort over someone else's genuine need for support. Barbara said something I keep thinking about. It's not about you. And that applies to so much more than just funerals. When someone tells you they're going through something hard, your job isn't to fix it, or relate it back to your own experience, or make them feel better so you can feel less uncomfortable. Your job is to show up, be present. The other piece that hit me is how we are so afraid to mention people who've died. We tiptoe around their names like saying them out loud will shatter someone. But grieving people want to talk about the person they lost. They want to share memories. They want to know that person mattered to other people too. If you make someone cry by mentioning their loved one's name, they're crying because they miss them, and they're probably grateful you brought them up. Again, this goes beyond grief. We avoid hard conversations because we're scared of the emotional response. But emotions are not the enemy. Discomfort is not dangerous. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is sit with someone in their pain without trying to make it go away. I also loved Barbara's approach to celebration and progress. She celebrates writing 1 page, even when she planned to write 3, because 1 page is more than 0. That's something I need to get better at. We're so focused on the big goals and the finish line that we forget to acknowledge the small steps. But those small steps are what actually gets us somewhere. Set up your workspace? That's progress. Had a hard conversation even though it didn't go as you planned? Also progress. Showed up to something that scared you? Progress. And honestly, showing up is the theme of this whole episode. Show up for other people. Show up for yourself. Show up even when it's awkward or scary and you don't know what to do. Ask questions. Admit you don't have all the answers. Be willing to make mistakes and apologize when you mess up. That's how we build real connections and real community. If you found this episode helpful, I would love it if you could leave a comment or a review wherever you're listening right now. Reviews really help other people find the show, and they help me know what's resonating with you. You can also subscribe so you don't miss future episodes, and if you want to share this with someone who might need to hear it, please do. You can find links to Barbara's book in the show notes along with her website if you want to learn more about her work or reach out to her directly. Seriously, go download her book. It's short and it might save you from making a fool of yourself at the next funeral you attend. Thank you for being here and for being a part of this community. Remember that struggling doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human. And just like tacos, we fall apart sometimes. The goal isn't to never fall apart. The goal is to show up anyway. I'll catch you next time.